Good morning, gentlemen. It's nice to talk to you again, and I'm going to talk to you about Kashmir. It's not all sad occurrences, but if you look at it, the seeds of this conflict lie in the 1947-48 war which India fought with Pakistan. That is the crux of the issue. And that is where the matter would have been solved if we had a leader who had a strategic vision. Unfortunately, the Indian leadership at that time, led by Patel and Jawaharlal Nehru, didn't have that concept, and so it was a stalemate. Now, we all know that India was divided on the basis of religion, with the majority Muslim areas becoming Pakistan and the others becoming Hindu India. But at that time, Gandhi and Nehru decided that India would not be a religious state but a secular state. Why they decided is beside the point, though at that time, since Gandhi and Nehru had accepted the basis of partition as religion, there was no reason not to declare India as a Hindu state. Well, but that was one point which was missed, because had it been done at that time, there would be no problem now. But then the situation in the valley kept on simmering because of lack of apathy of the Indian government. And the third option, which had been given by the British to the princely states, that they could either accede to India or Pakistan, was applicable to Kashmir. But the Raja was sitting on the fence. He wanted independence, and he paid the price by having to face an invasion from Pakistan. Jinnah was the man with a vision. He wanted to add more territory to Pakistan, and he ordered the Indian Pakistan army and groups of tribals to invade the valley. And they were successful, in the sense the Maharaja's forces were defeated. And at that time, another great mistake was committed by Pandit Nehru when he made Lord Louis Mountbatten as the Governor General of India. Mountbatten had no love for India, as he was loyal to the British Crown, and he was having a negative influence. He is the one who told Nehru not to intervene in Kashmir till such time as the Maharaja signs the order of accession to India. And in the meantime, the tribals were advancing into the valley, and they would have probably captured Srinagar, but for their own foolishness. They got so enticed with the fair girls, the Kashmiri girls, and they started having their fun, and they started burning the city. In fact, in Baramulla, they burned the city, had their fun, and that delayed them from moving forward to Srinagar. In the meantime, the Raja had signed the order of accession, and VP Menon had to fly into Srinagar, get the letter, and come back. So precious time was lost thanks to Mr. Mountbatten, because he had an axe to grind. And the Labour Party, which was in power at that time, is even now saying that Kashmir is one of the unfinished agenda of partition. Gentlemen, the point here to be noted is that the Indian leadership was weak. They didn't have any strategic vision. And it's only when almost the raiders had reached Kashmir, that is Srinagar, and it was known where the airfield was in their hands, or know that the Indians intervened. It was too late. And though the Indians pushed the tribals back, once the Pakistan army actively came in, it became a stalemate. And gentlemen, the war lasted 1 year and 2 months, and India didn't have the stomach to continue fighting. It was a localized conflict, and one can look at it now and say that it was in parts a tactical victory, but a strategic defeat from India, because India lost 30% of Kashmir to Pakistan in one go at that time. And another thing was that Nehru's stomach for a fight was not there, and he went to the United Nations, though the best option for him at that time would have been to invade East Pakistan, which was absolutely defenseless. Nobody was there. And at that time, he could have occupied Sylhet or Chittagong, which had large sizables of Hindu populations, and used it as a bargaining chip with Pakistan, with Jinnah. Because Jinnah understood only one thing, and that's the language of force. You can't forget his call for direct action in 1946 when the Hindus were massacred in West Pakistan. Gentlemen, India was handicapped also by the fact that there is no senior officer above the rank of brigadier in the Indian army, and the top generals, including the commander-in-chief of both the Pakistan army and the Indian army, were Britishers who often spoke to each other on telephone, when the Indian armies were fighting in Kashmir, Indian Pakistan armies fighting in Kashmir. Gentlemen, now when I look at inside, that 1 year and 2 years, 2 months battle is the crucial factor that the Kashmir problem continued. India should have solved the problem at that time, continued fighting, but since India didn't have the stomach, didn't move forward. Thirdly, Nehru had a warped sense of history. He didn't understand what is strategic vision, and I wish he had looked into it and not made Kashmir into a watertight compartment where no other Indian could go and settle or buy land. Net result is he treated Kashmir with kid gloves, and the majority Muslim population continued. Had Kashmir been opened up at that time in 47-48, there would have been no problem now at all, nothing. Had the refugees coming from Punjab been settled in Kashmir, there would have been no problem. They were not allowed to settle in Kashmir, that was another problem. And it was all the creation of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, supported by Gandhi. These two men, great persons as we call them, but they didn't have strategic vision, and that's something which is difficult to digest now. But we know it's a fact. Nehru similarly lost Tibet and Aksai Chin also, and was left wringing his hands with a 60 defeat in 1962. The 47 war between India and Pakistan, which lasted 1 year and 2 months, was a localized conflict. And by the winter of 47, the Indian army had lost the steam to throw the Pakistanis out. They couldn't even reach Muzaffarabad, and the only option at that time was to bite the bullet. That is the only thing that could have been done at that time, was to invade East Pakistan and use it as a bargaining tip. But India has had no history of a national revolution or a national fight, and that probably had an effect. And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was looking for easier options. He thought the United Nations are going to help him. They did bring about a ceasefire, but then that became like the international border. Only Pakistan doesn't recognize it. Pakistan uses it as a porous border to infiltrate into India terrorists and jihadis. And these, after 89, have been playing hell into the Indian state for the last 33 years. That is the fact. And despite all the talk of the BJP government of having had the surgical strikes, well, good idea, you can win some elections in that, but the net result has been zero. The terrorists have not been eliminated, and they will not be eliminated until unless the demographic composition of Kashmir is changed. Changed in the sense not by force, but by opening up the state to all Indians. Let everybody go and settle there. And that's how the Chinese are solving the problem in Xinjiang. So many Han Chinese have been settled there. They're marrying the local girls. Bangladesh did the same thing in the Chakma areas, hill areas of Chittagong, where Bengali farmers were settled, and the Hindu tribesmen have been quieted. That is the fact. Now, though Article 370 has been removed, it has been removed with a lot of ifs and buts, a lot of riders. And even now, you're required to get Kashmiri citizenship is not easy. Maybe that's pandering again to the local sentiment. Because once you start pandering to the local sentiment, which in any case is swayed by a jihadist mentality, maybe a minority, maybe a majority, we don't know. But the fact remains that the battle is now not the way India would like it. So whether you have Balakot strike or nothing, and the fact that Indian army fought for 1 year and 2 months and couldn't subdue the Pakistanis, and no stalemate was broken, are the points that has carried on forward and created the Kashmir problem. Gentlemen, the only way this problem can be solved is if the mother country, that is Pakistan, is destroyed. That's not going to happen because the West and China are not going to allow Pakistan to be dismembered or destroyed. Unless there's an internal upheaval in Pakistan, I don't realize how the Kashmir problem is going to be solved. Militarily, India doesn't have the edge to destroy Pakistan. And who is responsible for it? It's again the political leadership. We must remember that war is an extension of the political aim, and this is something the Indian political leadership has not realized even now. Gentlemen, the Kashmir War of 47-48 was a watershed in the history of India. And the fact remains, it lasted 1 year, 2 months, and is the first step in the creation of the present problem. A victory at that time would have mattered a very big deal, and the Kashmir problem would have been solved. But it didn't happen, and we have now to wait and see what's the next step. I close now, gentlemen, and say Jai Hind, glory to India. Please subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and come back to see more of my videos. Goodbye and God bless. Take care.